What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? It's going to be your review for Braxton Family Values, Season 7, Episode 5. And they said next week is the finale, so I guess that's all we get in the 6 episodes. I guess the Rona and Tamar quitting has really, took away from what they had going on. For better or for worse, Tamar makes good TV. You know what I'm saying? What can you say about that? But we start the episode off. People are kind of coming out of Rona, but it's still a whole lot of phone conversations. So we had Tony checking in with her dad, and dad saying, hey, I'm good. She asked if he was being safe and everything, and asked about Tracy. And he said Tracy's doing good, and she said, yeah, well, hopefully when, I'm trying to get all of them to come out here so we can kind of talk and work everything out. And he said, yeah, because, she really hasn't talked to a lot of people since the wedding. And he said, I know things aren't really that good, but she misses y'all. She does miss you all, and y'all love each other, and y'all can work it out. He also let her know that Tawanda was coming up, and, she was like, well, you think Tawanda got anything on her mind? I think they were hinting at this engagement, which I guess is going to be the big thing for this, part of the season, is that Tawanda is going to end up getting engaged, right? So, then we had Tracy checking in with her mom. And I mean, they wasn't really talking about too much or nothing. She was just checking in with her child. Can we all just have a silent thank you for the fact that they done put it in the budget to get a mama a new wig? That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. She got that Chinese wig working with the bangs and the long on the... Okay, anyway, Tawanda is in Merlin with the daddy, and they're talking, and their father, he's a card, he's a cut up, and they ain't really talking about nothing. Honestly, I don't really think they talking about too much. They again talking about she's saying how she wants to talk to Tracy because the way things went down at the wedding, and she wants to just sort of talk to her and sort of, and he was, she's picking his brain a little bit about, how she's feeling about stuff. And I feel like as soon as Tawanda left, then her boyfriend rolled up to talk to the daddy, and I was just wondering who was taking care of the kids. And somebody said in my chat, well, the kids are teenagers. Okay, they might be teenagers, but she said, I'm leaving you to take care of the kids, and then he left to come to Maryland. Okay, whatever. But he asked the daddy for Tawanda's hand in marriage, and I found it very interesting that he said he wanted his blessing, and I found it very interesting that the daddy wouldn't give the blessing. He said, you don't need my blessing, you just need to treat my daughter right. And I'm thinking, I don't want to read too much into that, but I mean, you can't say, okay, you have my blessing. You was just like, you don't really need my blessing. I guess he figured, hell, I done gave my blessing before and it ain't work out. I don't know. But he's gonna say, well, do you know what is the secret to keeping a Braxton woman happy? He wouldn't know. His Braxton woman still hate him, and they've been divorced for 20 years. How the fuck would he know? Anyway, yeah, this review ain't gonna take long. Tawanda goes over Tracy's house. Now listen, Tawanda asked Tracy for some crabs. Now Tracy's talking about boundaries. I don't think that's boundaries. I think that's, hey, this is something that is native to where we grew up. You still live here. I'm coming to visit. Can you get me some crabs? Can we have some crabs and sit down and talk? And Tracy was like, no. I don't want no crabs. No. Respect my boundaries. I cooked for you. But you was making fried chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese. You spent all day cooking shit that she said she didn't want. All she wanted was a dozen crabs from the spot. That's it. You could have got you a dozen crabs from the spot, some newspaper, and if she uses butter or not, or one of them little homemade concoctions that people dip their crabs in, that's all she wanted. You done went and did a bunch of shit that she ain't asked you to do. She ain't asked you to fry no chicken. She ain't asked you to make no collard greens. She ain't asked you to make no macaroni and cheese. Then on top of that, she's a pescatarian. She's not even going to eat the fried chicken. And you had the nerve to be like, she not even grateful. I sat here and cooked for her all day. No, you didn't. You couldn't possibly have cooked for her all day. Because she can't even eat half of what you cook. Because if you put meat in them greens, she ain't eating that either. So, How are you cooking for her? Now I can see if she said, I decided to do some salmon and some shrimp. I don't want no crabs, but I don't feel like Tawanda was being unreasonable and saying, hey, baby sis or big sis, I'm coming to visit you. Can I get some crabs? I live in the DMV area, and people do that to me all the time. When they come in, they grew up here, especially if they come in during the summer, that's all they want. Because that's just a thing here in the DC area, crabs. Like, that's just a thing. Anyway, child. But they had a whole conversation about boundaries. Now, I do think it was important for Tracy to let Tawanda know that she is going to therapy and she is working on setting and holding boundaries. I think that is important. And I think it's important for her to let her sisters know that she does have boundaries, right? That's the word of the episode, was boundaries, okay? Tony's in the studio. Now, Tony is she's afraid to talk to her daddy. She got a mask on talking to her daddy because she talking about the Rona. But she at the studio. Now, she is talking about how she's wiping everything down and she's making sure. But, the show must go on and she's got to work. And so she's got to do the boundary. She's got boundaries. See, she's got to do the COVID thing. So I get it. We still got to work. But, she gets a call from her manager. And they're moving forward with doing a video for her new single. And he told her, listen, we tried to make a treatment that's as COVID friendly as possible. You won't have to have a lot of interaction. We're going to do a lot of green screen. But whatever you are comfortable with, if you're not comfortable with moving forward, then we won't do it, And he said, we'll just play it by ear, right? So everybody is heading to LA. Tracy talked about Tony wanting them to come out. And she said, I think I'm ready to do it. She said, I kind of want to, see my sisters and I really want to be there, and so she's looking forward to it. But she did call her therapist and said, listen, can I put you on speed dial? So if I get out to LA and my sisters get to acting a fool, that I can call you before I go left. And the therapist was like, I think that's a great plan. And I will be available. So I thought that was a great thing. And I thought that was really good on Tracy's part to have the forethought to say, I need to have a plan in place, because I know, even though I've been working on myself and I've been doing this therapy and I've been going through these motions, I know that I need to put a plan in place. So that, because I know when I get around my sisters, stuff goes left. So I thought that was good. I thought that was a really good plan on Tracy's part. So Tawanda and Tracy get to the house first. And I thought it was Trina, excuse me. And I thought it was very interesting that Trina said, when they went upstairs to go to do the rooms, Trina was like, well, I already know I'm not getting the biggest room. And I already know I'm not going to get the second biggest room. So I don't even care about running up these steps to go see the rooms for a room I ain't going to sleep in. Now, the house seems like it has 2 masters. So she said, and I thought it was interesting when she said this. She said, Tracy's the oldest. She should get one of the suites. Now, I don't know if she was being that concerned about Tracy because of what's going on right now with their relationship, or if she really is like, hey, that's the fair thing to do. Now, it's Tony's house, quote unquote. So, of course, Tony should be the one to get one of the rooms because, that's the rule, But Tracy shows up shortly after that because they're still upstairs in one of the bedrooms sort of talking. So, Tracy shows up. Now, Tawanda looked like she ain't really here for it. But I think Trina really is interested in talking to Tracy, finding out what happened, and getting Tracy's side of the story of how everything went down at the wedding. And Tracy, to her credit, is in really good spirits. She doesn't have that little attitude she had when she went to the bachelorette party and all of that. She really seems to be in good spirits. So the ladies, they hug and meet up and talk and everything. And then they call Tony. And Tony gonna tell them that she need them to be in quarantine for 5 days. They was like 5 days. She said, well, yeah. She said, because they said, well, we took our test. We're going to take our test and we're good. Nobody has a fever. We're all good now. And she said, well, I'm going to send my chef over, and I'll be there. So then she went from 5 days to 3 days. And then she kind of just said, I'll be there before my birthday. And I think her birthday was like 3 days away. So she said, I'll be there before my birthday. So they ended up having dinner. and they were kind of doing this thing where they were pretending like, Tracy was there. Now, I noticed they didn't pretend like Tamar was there. Tamar's name wasn't brought up. Tamar's name was not mentioned. I think the only person that mentioned Tamar's name was Tracy, and that's when she was talking to Trina later on in the episode about what went down at the wedding. Now, while they were at dinner, they kept it kind of light. I mean, they had a good conversation. Again, they ain't talking about Tamar. They didn't really get into a lot of, deep stuff that went down at the wedding. They talked about Tawanda getting engaged. They were talking about Tony and her fake fiance. She said, listen, when her and Birdman when Tony and Birdman got engaged, I didn't even know Vaughn. We done met, dated, and got married all at the same time, okay? But Tawanda, they was talking about her engagement and how she would want him to do it, when she would want him to do it, what she would want it to look like, But they had a good conversation. They looked like they had a good time. Real light. Like I said, they didn't get into nothing deep, too much. But later on that night, and Tony invited Mama to come out, so I'm sure there's going to be something between Mama and Tracy. But but later on that night, Tracy and Trina went out to have a conversation. And Tracy gave Trina her side of the story. When she spoke about how hurt she was about the whole thing. She talked about she started from when she went out to go sing with Daddy and that whole situation, and how she said, and to her credit, she said, we do it to each other. She said, and we really need to stop. She said, but we always found a way to make fun of each other, and we do it to each other. And she said, so she got upset, and she said that she tried to separate herself. And she said when she was sitting behind in Trina's changing area, she overheard people talking about her. And Tamar must have been one of those people. She said then Tamar came in there and sat down in front of her and was like, what? What's wrong? What's wrong? Why you mad? What's wrong? And started, playing with her hair. And she told her leave her alone. And Tamar kept doing it. And that's when she lost it. And she said she picked up a chair and some more stuff went down. And she said that when her mother came back there to find out what was going on, Tawanda and them was like, Tracy did it. It's always Tracy. It's always Tracy. Which, of course, made it she felt even worse and pissed her off even more. And, that's when it went down. And so Trina said, well, why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you? She said, because it was your wedding. I didn't want to. She said, but I'm always here. She said, you and me, me and you have a different relationship. And, I always am here. You can always talk to me. And so I felt like they had a good moment. And she said, and something I thought was very important. And I feel like Tracy needed to hear this. She said, you haven't always been treated fairly. And I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry because you have.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Look at Suri. Ain't nobody talking to her ass. But she said, I know that you have gotten the short end of the stick. And for that, I'm sorry. And I said, and I feel like that's really all Tracy's been wanting. But I also feel like Tracy has gotten it. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, I know that they've apologized to Tracy. But I don't know, in that moment, I feel like Tracy needed it in that moment. So anyway, that's what it was. So next week is supposed to be the finale. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.